Today we're going to talk about how do we choose the right fly line for the right application. We hear things like grain weight and taper and redfish and bonefish and all around, or flats taper and guide taper. What does all of it mean? What's up, guys? It's Alex at Saltwater Fly Shop. Today we're going to talk about probably one of the more intimidating spots for you in the fly shop, and that's going to be the fly line wall. All right, so the first type of lines that we're going to talk about are the species-specific branded fly lines, okay? So we got redfish line here, we got tarpon line here, we got bonefish line there. What does that mean? Does that mean that if I tie a redfish fly into a bonefish line and fish for a redfish, it's not going to work? No, that's not what it means. Think species in fly line means shape of the taper. So on a bonefish line, it's going to have a little bit more aggressive front taper, but a lot longer rear taper. So what does that really mean? So on a bonefish line, what it means is you're going to be able to pick up and cast line at a pretty short distance, load the rod really easily. It's made to minimize false casts and throw lighter flies like you would for bonefish. But it also has a longer rear taper, which is going to help you with throwing, longer casts. So this bonefish line is going to be great for windy conditions or maybe a faster rod, if you will. So the bonefish line pairs up really nicely with something like an NRX or a Scott Sector or some of the Sage rods, just because those rods are really fast and this has an aggressive front taper. The next line is a redfish line. So a redfish line is a little bit different. Has a little bit of a longer, less aggressive front taper, but a lot more aggressive rear taper. So on these two Cortland lines, if you will, redfish and bonefish, the coating on them is the same, Tropic Plus. It's just a different shape of that taper. So the redfish line is designed for what red fishing normally is, which is throwing larger flies at shorter distances. So throwing heavier stuff with large lead eyes, medium lead eyes. It's going to work really well for redfish in really slicked off or calm conditions, because the head's not going to be as aggressive, if you will, as maybe a bonefish line. So it's going to help you land those heavier, bigger flies that you might use for redfish a little bit softer, but at a longer distance. It has a really aggressive rear taper, so the line's going to get really heavy the more line that you have out of the tip. So this rod could work really well, though, for more moderate action rods, rods that you feel to flex a little bit more in the middle, a rod that maybe you want to open your loop up a little bit if you want to land a fly softer for a tailing redfish, or if you're really throwing heavier flies for stuff. So this is a great line if you're throwing big bait fish flies, also for snook. And then you have a tarpon line. So a tarpon line is going to be for exactly what you'd think. It's made to load heavy rods at a short distance, throw really big flies if you need to, or throw really small flies. It's going to kind of do a little bit of everything, but it's made to be thrown in the wind, which is a lot of times you're tarpon fishing, you're fishing in some stronger wind. But again, tarpon just is the shape of the taper. The next set of lines is kind of the all-purpose lines. So you might walk over to the wall and you see something like Sonar Saltwater, or you see flats taper, or guide, or Grand Slam, or Infinity. And what does that mean? What does that correlate to? Well, these lines are kind of designed to do everything. Whether that is, you have one setup, or you're just starting out in fly fishing, kind of want one line that's going to do everything pretty well. Or if you're just someone that has one setup and you do redfish, snook, and then you want to take that rod, on your trip, and you're going to fish for bonefish with it, or you're going to fish for baby tarpon with it. These are the lines that are kind of going to do everything. So they might not be specifically designed to be great at one thing, but they're going to be, really good options no matter what situation that you find yourself in. And specifically with these lines, that's why it's so important to remember what rod you have and what taper of these is going to match best with that rod. Because at the end of the day, if you pair up the wrong line with your rod, it's going to make that rod that you spend a lot of money on not perform as well as it should. All right, so the very last type of lines that we carry are going to be more of your specialty lines. So your heavy sink, your outbound shorts, your intermediate lines that are kind of going to have more of a specific application. So this isn't, hey, I have one fly setup, so I want to get this. So the heavy sink, so something like this, for example. If you're fishing under the bridge and there's really heavy current you might need something that's going to sink a lot quicker than just a regular intermediate line. Or maybe like some of our friends up north, just north of us, you guys do some shallow water grouper fishing with a fly rod, and you're trying to fish in 20 feet of water with a fly rod. Well, that heavy sink line is going to get down. Intermediate line, great for fishing in the surf. Great for if there's some moderate current or some waves that are breaking. It's just going to help your fly get underneath the surface of that and track a little bit straighter. Not necessarily something you're going to use all the time in shallow saltwater fishing, but definitely something that's nice to have if you're fishing in some current or if you're fishing in some surf. And there's something like an outbound short or like a real heavy, like a Titan taper from Scientific Angler, or like I said, that outbound short from Rio. That line is extremely heavy. And what that line is going to be good for is throwing oversized flies or extremely windy, or you know that you have to be ready to make a really, really quick, short cast and load the rod at a short distance. That's what that line is for. Or that line can also be good if you're someone that's just starting out and you're someone that struggles to get the fly line out. What that line's going to do is it's going to help you load the rod a lot easier than something that might be a lighter grain weight, because that line is going to be weighted a lot differently and a lot heavier than some of the other lines. So if you're someone that's struggling or you're just beginning, that's a line that's going to be easy for you to learn how to cast and how to shoot line. All right, so that was a lot of information that we just threw at you, but hopefully what that helps you do is when you walk into your local fly shop and you see that fly line wall, maybe it'll just be a little bit less intimidating to you, and maybe it'll help you know the questions or the answers that you should have when you walk in, you're looking for a fly line. So what rod am I throwing? What application am I going to be using it for? And once you answer those questions, it really helps you narrow down which fly line choice is going to be the best for you. So hope this helped you guys out. And remember to like, subscribe. Let us know in the comments what your favorite fly line is. What do you use, and how do you use it? And do you have any preferences that might be a little bit, not ordinary, or maybe off the cuff a little bit, or something like that you use? So let us know, and we look forward to seeing you in the next video.